morning, guitar, and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to be talking about the concept of key signatures, building off of what we learned about in our last video lesson, where we were looking at half steps and whole steps. We introduced the note F sharp. We learned how to play the note F sharp in 3 places. So today we're going to talk about key signatures, and then when we're done with key signatures, we're going to move on to some scale practice that we can do to improve our technique and speed with scales. So a key signature, as we saw in exercise 57 that we played through, every time the note F sharp came up for the first time in a measure, we had to write it. The bar line acts like a reset button, and then so if we want to play, or if a composer wants us to play, or the music calls for another F sharp, it has to be written. So as you can probably imagine, just by looking at London Derriere here, it can be a little redundant to have to write this all the time. And this is where the concept of a key signature comes into place. So instead of writing a sharp sign before every F in a song, one sharp is placed at the beginning of the first line of the music. We put that in between the clef and the time signature. We call that space, that little area where this lives, is called the key signature. So when there's nothing there, which is what we've been doing up until this point in general, we understand that to be either the key of C major or the key of A minor, depending on the context of the music. So this is the first time now where we're going to see something actually in that place. And what you should notice is that that sharp sign falls through the line that represents the note F. And what that's telling us is that every F in the song, not just on this line, but even if it's the space or ledger lines below or ledger lines above, every note that used to be F is now going to be F sharp. So I'm going to skip down over here to number 60. This is one we'll take a look at for the lesson. We see here that there is the symbol representing F sharp for our key signature at the very beginning. And, for purposes of practice, we've put these little arrows above all the notes that are F. Now, this looks just like a regular F, but because of the key signature, where the sharp sign is falling through the line that represents F, we know that every one of these is actually going to be the note F sharp. So as we go on into other songs and music throughout, it won't always have an arrow above it unless, of course, you mark it yourself or it's been marked for you. Typically, the key signature at the very beginning is sufficient. So just as a quick reminder, we remember that F sharp happens on the 2nd fret, 6th string with the 2nd finger, the 4th fret, 4th finger on the 4th string is our space F sharp, and then on the 1st string, 2nd fret, 2nd finger, that's our 1st string F sharp. So like any good exercise beforehand, I'm going to go ahead and read through it and fret. This is my mental and physical preparation. So for example, I'm going to say to myself, this is E, E, F sharp, E, G, E, A, that's the open 5th string. So this is mostly on the low strings I can see, right? E, E, F sharp, E. That was the same as the first measure, right? G, and then F sharp. So I see here I have a phrase, and then this is like a phrase part A and phrase part A prime, so to speak. E, E, F sharp, E, G, E, A. So I can say that this is phrase A again, right? I learned these 2 measures over here. Very cool. Repetitive ink. We like that. Music is about repetition. G, G, F sharp, G, E. And now I am ready to play this. So as per usual, I'm going to play twice low strings. I like to play with pulgar when I'm doing a finger style, and then I'll play it again using the pick. So 1, 2, here it is. right, so as per usual, go ahead and stop the video, practice along, slow down the metronome, speed up the metronome, do as you need. Now, in the second part of this video today, I want to take a look at ways that we can practice scales. So we've been talking about the G major and the E minor scale. We're using F sharps this whole time, and we've practiced it so far using only whole notes. By this time, we've been practicing enough guitar that whole notes might be a little bit tedious, like it takes a long time to happen, right, unless you speed up the metronome. So another thing we can do is after we practice whole notes in our routine, we can practice the same scale using half notes. So let's call this scales using half notes. All right, and I'm going to go through the long version of a scale, for example, starting with E, and then F sharp. Actually, you know what, a really good way to practice this is to repeat each note twice. So let's do E twice, and then we'll do F sharp twice, and then we'll do G, and then we'll do A, and then we'll do B, and then we'll do C, D, E, and then F sharp, G, A. All right, so that's scales using half notes, and we'll call this figure 1 because we're going to do a figure 2 there as well. So, like with all things, practice this doing finger style, I and M. Even though you're on the low notes, I would do I and M still because we're working on a scale. And then we can always come back to it and do it with the pick. I just want to really quick here put in some double bars since we're going to move on to some other things. All right, so let's play through this scale, figure 1. And I'm going to do this finger style alternating I and M. The next scale, I'll go through it, and I will use the pick. 1, 2, here it is. Oh, sorry. I'll go ahead and go back and do that again. 1, 2, here it is. Once you get up to the 5th string, switch to that rest stroke. So the 6th string should be catching your fingers as you move up the fretboard. Stretch the pinky, keep E and F sharp down at the same time. And then, of course, a good technique would be, or practice technique would be to repeat this and move backwards as well. So this was our, let's call that E minor scale using half notes, figure 1. Because now what we will do is figure 2 is when we do not repeat a note. So for example, I'm going to do E, right, and then F sharp, and then G, and then A, and then B, C, D, and then F sharp, G, A, B, and then we'll end with the whole note G. So we can see here that we're finishing this one in twice the amount of time, or half the amount of time, rather, because we're not going to repeat any of the notes. We're just going to go straight through it, one note at a time. So we'll call this one the E minor scale using half notes, figure 2. All right, so as per usual, we set our metronome. 72 is my tempo today, and I'm going to use the pick for this playthrough. Of course, practice all of these exercises using both versions, both techniques. 1, 2, here it is. And for now, I was doing all down strokes with the pick, and of course still doing rest strokes even with the pick at this point for power, right? Now, we can do these same scales starting just from G, for example. So if I can take from here to here, we would call this the G major scale using half notes figure 1. And if I start from here, we can call this the G major scale using half notes figure 2. Same concept, so we're not going to play through that today with this particular exercise. But we will really quickly take a look at the same concept in A minor. No, actually, let me grab that file back. Because what we can do is copy and paste it over to here as well. All of this. Because to make these A major and A minor and C major, all we have to do is remove those F sharps, right? And of course do a little bit of formatting. So when we did A minor, we started with just A. So we'll call this the A minor scale using half notes figure 1. And what we need to do is naturalize all of our F sharps. Ooh. And same concept here. What we're going to do is cursor, please. Call this the A minor scale using figure 2. We'll go ahead and naturalize this. All right. You know what? For purposes, let's go ahead and do a page break here. Cool. So we got A minor, good. Okay, and then so this one would be C major scale, figure 1. And this will be the C major scale, figure 2. And of course, to make that true, we have to naturalize all of our into F sharps, or F sharps into F naturals. Beautiful. All right. So now we have the same figures that we just did with the G major and the E minor scale after all that prep work. But now what we can do is we can actually just play through this. I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to play A minor. I'll do the A minor scales using fingerstyle, and I'll do the C major scales using the pick set at tempo 72. And I'll play through these 1, 2, A minor, figure 1. And now we're going to do figure 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And now we're going to move on to the C major scales. Here's figure 1 using a pick. 1, 2, here it goes. Now the C major scale using half notes figure 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And of course, this doesn't have to start on count 3. We could always shift that over and end with a half note with the G at the end. But for formatting purposes, I left it in this way. I hope that doesn't bother you. So here we had, again, just to cover what we talked about key signatures. So now we see F sharp appearing at the very beginning. We'll talk about what key signature that is. In general, going forward, we know that it has something to do with G major and E minor, as we saw. We'll talk about why. And then we also talked about our G major, E minor, A minor, and C major scales using now 2 different figures of half note patterns.